The heads-up display, also known as the HUD, is one of the most underappreciated aspects of the Call of Duty Zombies mode, but surprisingly a lot of Zombies fans have actually been talking about the HUDs within the last few years, because I think people are starting to realize how important they actually are to the Zombies experience. So if you don't know what a heads-up display is, it's basically just all of the elements on your screen that aren't physically in the world itself. So it's basically like the information you're being given through whether it's the round counter, the perk icons, the ammo counter, a compass, or the mini-map, or anything that pops up on the screen while you're playing. Basically anything that's just not physically in the environment itself is counting as part of the HUD. And today I thought it would be kind of fun to rank every single Call of Duty Zombies mode by the HUD itself. Obviously, this is going to be a highly subjective ranking, but in my opinion, I much prefer HUDs that are a bit simpler and aren't too obtrusive to the player vision. I also prefer ones that are a little more unique to the Zombies mode itself. And of course, some of these HUDs are slightly customizable in some aspects, so I'll also be discussing that. And in some of these games, the HUDs are different depending on the map you're playing, but obviously just for the sake of this ranking, we're just kind of smushing them all together within its own respective game. And before I get into this, I would just like to let you guys know that I am not including the Black Ops 6 Zombies HUD on this ranking. I just don't think it would make sense to include because we don't really know if the HUD that they showed us is like the full version of the HUD. We also know we're going to be able to customize it in some ways, and I don't really know the full extent of that customization just yet, and there might be some changes they make before the game fully comes out, so I would rather not fully judge it in this video just yet. But I will say I'm not a huge fan of it currently. I do think there's certain aspects of it I like, but as a whole I'm not too crazy about it, at least at this moment. But getting into the full ranking, coming in last place is definitely going to be Vanguard. Vanguard's HUD is despicable. This is by far the worst HUD in Call of Duty Zombies history. So first of all, it's got similar problems that the Cold War HUD has, which we'll talk about a little bit later, where there's just so much stuff going on within the screen itself, and there's so much stuff popping up on the screen as well, whether it's the medals, which you can't get rid of, by the way. You have so much numbers popping up on the screen, whether it's the damage point numbers or the XP pop-ups. There's an ugly compass, there's the mini-map that's really big for some reason. The perk icons and just everything on the screen is just so large. It is really, really ugly. It is terribly ugly, and you can't turn off like pretty much anything. There's maybe like one or two aspects you can change on the HUD, but majority of the stuff you cannot turn off. You have to leave it there. So yes, this is a terrible HUD. Obviously not a good Zombies mode either, but the HUD just makes it so much worse. I especially hate how the perk icons look because they have these little like Roman numeral numbers next to it to show what upgrade tier your different perks are, and I understand the purpose of that, but it just looks so ugly on the screen. I hate looking at it. It's not good. It's not a good HUD. In number 10 spot is going to be Black Ops Cold War, which I think has very similar issues to Vanguard, where there's just too much stuff going on within the screen itself, especially when you're going around shooting zombies. Now, when you're not shooting any zombies and you're just standing still, it doesn't look that bad, but it still has the big issue of being way too similar to multiplayer and Warzone. They just didn't zombify this HUD enough. It just doesn't have that unique flair to it. Obviously, stuff like the minimap I just don't like in zombies, and there is no way to turn it off. There are certain things you can turn off in Cold War. You can turn off the health bars, you can turn off the damage point numbers, which I'm definitely thankful you can do that, but that's it. I guess you can turn off the compass too, but most of the other stuff you have to leave up. You can't turn off the medals, you can't turn off the XP pop-ups, you can't turn off the minimap. There's a lot of stuff you just can't turn off, and it just fundamentally makes it a very bad HUD in my opinion. I also just don't like HUDs that cover all four corners of the screen at all times. Like, come on, as a streamer, that's always really frustrating, just having, you know, nowhere to put your webcam. You gotta like find it somewhere else, because if you put it in any of the four corners, you're covering some important HUD information. So that's kind of frustrating. I don't like what they did here. It was a big change for zombies to have this sort of a HUD, and again, it just takes away that unique zombies feel and makes it feel more like a multiplayer Warzone game. I know a lot of people who their first reaction to seeing gameplay of zombies, they went, why does this look like multiplayer? And I don't even blame them for thinking that. Obviously the game itself, you know, it still is zombies, don't get me wrong. I enjoy Cold War for what it is, but yeah, when you look at it and your first thought is multiplayer, that's not a good thing. In the number 9 spot, I've got Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, which you might be surprised to see this higher than Cold War and Vanguard, but honestly the reason is because it's an open world zombies mode, and I feel like this Warzone HUD kind of fits it a little bit better. Like, obviously if this was round based, it would be a pretty bad HUD, but because it's like an open world zombies experience, I don't really feel like it's that horrible, but it's still not good. It still has a lot of the same issues as these other HUDs. but they actually made it not as bad because first of all, the minimap is a lot smaller, it doesn't take up like a large amount of the screen as it does in the other games. They also made it so certain aspects like the XP pop-ups, which I still don't like, they're a lot more condensed. You won't see them stack onto each other like they do in Cold War, so they won't take up the whole screen. So I really do think they just found a way to make this HUD a lot simpler in this game, but there are still things I hate about it. Obviously, I would still prefer it to be a little bit more zombified. It is still too much like Warzone, even though it kind of fits the mode a little bit better. I also hate how the perk icons look in this mode. The fact that they're kind of like spaced out a bit and they're really tiny. Like, I like when most of the HUD aspects are small, but for some reason the perk icons, those are kind of satisfying to have and actually be a decent size on the screen. But here they're so small and it's kind of hard to see sometimes. So I don't know. I don't like how that looks personally. I also don't like them in the middle there. But yeah, in general, not a great HUD, but I think it is a little bit better than the prior two games. In number 8 spot, I've got Black Ops 4 Zombies, and yeah, it's kind of crazy that the bottom 4 spots are the most recent Call of Duty Zombies games, which is why I made that video a couple months ago where I talked about how the HUDs in Call of Duty Zombies have been getting kind of worse and worse over the years. Hopefully BO6 is going to fix some of the issues with it. I think they're at least trying in a lot of ways with the customizable HUD features, but not fully. They haven't found a way to actually get it to be more unique yet. But Black Ops 4 did have the positive aspect of being very unique. It was nothing like the multiplayer or blackout HUD whatsoever. So they found a way to make it a very unique HUD to the Zombies experience itself, which I was definitely happy about. But it has the really big issue of just being kind of obstructive. There's a lot of stuff going on, especially within the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Now, they leave open the top right side. You know, there's definitely enough space up there that's not obstructed, but that bottom section there, there's just a lot going on. And especially because your gun is like, you know, there's not like an FOV slider, at least on console. So it's covering a lot of your weapon. And I honestly really hate how that looks, especially with certain weapons. Like if you're using the gauntlets on Ancient Evil, your HUD icons are covering a lot of that weapon. It's really weird to look at. I think the absolute worst aspect of this HUD is the perk icons themselves. I don't know why they felt the need to have the perk icons be on the screen even when you don't have your perks itself. I know they had this because they were like, okay, we have this whole perk loadout system. We want players to know what perks are in what location at all times. But why do we need to know that at all times? Why not just make it so if we press the back button, it'll appear within that secondary HUD screen, which it shows your like inventory and stuff of all your parts. Why not have it appear there instead? And then when you actually buy the perks, then it appears in your HUD. And also, why does it appear in the middle? But then if you get any more than 4 perks through like gobblegums, well, I guess elixirs or other side quests, then it appears on the bottom left side of the screen. Like, it's such a weird layout and it just looks so disgusting, but I'm at least gonna put it above the other 3 games that we talked about because at least it's unique to Zombies. And also, there isn't nearly as much stuff going on within the middle of the screen. You don't have a bunch of XP pop-ups on the screen and all that crap. There's no medals, none of that bullshit. It's just simple zombie killing. But all the other stuff in the HUD I do think is definitely a problem, and I definitely don't like it, even if it's at least unique to Zombies. Coming in number 7 spot, I've got World at War. So we are now getting to the games where I think the HUDs are not a negative whatsoever. The bottom 4 spots on this list definitely have HUDs that I think negatively impact the mode in some way, shape, or form, but now we're at the games where there's literally no negative aspects to the HUDs. They're not ruining the game at all. But World at War is the lowest of the good HUDs just because of this little part at the bottom center part of the screen where it has these icons showing the D-pad, and I know why they're there, obviously, because if you get certain pieces of equipment, it'll go there, but like, it's just ugly. Like, why is it there at all times though? It doesn't need to be there at all times. It could also very easily just not be at that part of the screen. They could have put it to the side like they did in Black Ops 1, but I don't know. It's not a big deal. The HUD is very simple. Obviously, it's World at War. There's not much to the game, so there's not many HUD elements that are necessary, but obviously that adds a lot to the atmosphere because of how simple the HUD is. So I think it's perfectly fine. It's not bad. It's just, you know, there's obviously better HUDs out there for sure. In number 6 spot, we've got Advanced Warfare's Exo Zombies. This is the first time Exo Zombies is not rated like really low for something. I feel like this is the first time Exo Zombies actually has a pretty big positive to it. I think the HUD looks good. It's also very unique to Zombies, which is actually a surprise because this mode did not have a lot of development time. They could have very easily ripped the multiplayer or campaign HUD and just thrown it into Zombies, but they didn't do that. They actually made a HUD specifically for Zombies, and they had these little character key cards where you get to see your character's face on the screen at all times, and this is actually the first time we ever got to see something like this. We never got to see this before. Before, they would just have either like nothing, and the only way to tell what character you are is by the audio quotes and your hands. And then Black Ops 2, they would put the actual names. Sometimes some of the maps, they would put the name next to your thing so you know what character you're playing. but in this game, you actually get to see the face of the character. Like, that's just really cool. I really like that aspect, and everything else just looks clean. The perk icons aren't like the prettiest in the world. They don't have like colors to them like the Black Ops perk icons do, but for the mode itself, it fits the aesthetic, it fits the theming, and that makes it work quite a lot. So I'm actually really happy with this HUD. I think it definitely gives the mode more of a unique feel, even if the mode itself kind of sucks. In the number 5 spot, I've got World War II Zombies, and I think this HUD is pretty solid. Just like Advanced Warfare, it's unique to the Zombies mode itself. It has the character icons there so you can see their face. It has all the information you need given very simply. It's not taking up a large part of the screen. My only issue with this HUD is whenever your special ability is ready, it'll show you it in the bottom center part of the screen at all times, and it'll say like, okay, your thing is ready, you gotta press these buttons to activate it. But why does it have to be there the whole time? Like, it already shows me that's ready on the far right side of the screen. Why do I need to see it in the middle too? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I know it's, you know, if you're a casual player, you don't even know it exists, I get it, but why does it need to be there at all times? At least there should be a way to like turn it off or something. I think it would make it look a little bit cleaner, but for the most part, it looks solid. I think this is a solid looking HUD. I like how the perk icons look. They have color to them. They fit the game well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this HUD. It's a very simple one, but it fits the World War II aesthetic perfectly. In the number 4 spot is surprisingly going to be Black Ops 1. I feel like Black Ops 1 Zombies, it's obviously very simple. There's not a lot to this game. Just like World at War, there's just not really much that you're going to be putting on the HUD anyways. But something that I absolutely love about it is the fact that the ammo counter disappears after a while if you haven't reloaded or shot your weapon. And that is so cool to me. I feel like this should be a standard for all HUDs. If you haven't done something in a while and you're just kind of looking around the map, taking in the environment, have the HUD kind of disappear a little bit so you can really enjoy the environment as much as humanly possible. That aspect is really cool. Obviously, the perk icons look really solid in this game as well, and I like the little blood splatter near the ammo counter too. Like, all that stuff just looks clean. It looks solid. Definitely happy with the Black Ops 1 HUD, but it's definitely not the best. In number 3 spot is going to be the Infinite Warfare HUD, and the top 3 here definitely are all fantastic HUDs, and to me are prime examples of what Call of Duty HUDs should be. Infinite Warfare's HUD is very stylized to the aesthetic and the theme. They even went as far as to use a clapper board, which is that thing that they use in filmmaking, where they like snap it together before they start a scene. They have that as like the round counter. It's like the thing behind it. That's so cool. They call them scenes instead of rounds. Like, stuff like that is just so unique to the mode itself. Then obviously you still have the character icons, just like from Advanced Warfare, and they have them in the card form. The perk icons look amazing. They're really colorful. They're really cartoony. All that is just absolutely phenomenal. Everything about this HUD's amazing. I also haven't really talked too much about the inventory screens, which is the screen that you get when you press the back button. But the screens in Infinite Warfare are so cool because they're unique depending on the map you're in. They all have their own little vibe to it. For example, Spaceland has like a sticker pack for its inventory screen. And then when you go to Shaolin Shuffle, it's kind of themed around like newspaper prints. And then you go to Attack the Radioactive Thing, and it has like a comic book look to it. Like, it's all very specific to the map itself. And to me, that is just so awesome. In number 2 spot is going to be Black Ops 2, and I will say these top 2 spots were very hard to choose from. I feel like you probably could interchange them, and I really wouldn't argue with you at all. Black Ops 2's HUD is amazing. It is fantastic, especially because they went as far as to make it so the HUDs for Mob of the Dead, Buried, and Origins are actually very different HUDs, which is so cool. The fact that we're able to actually stylize them specifically for the maps itself. The only thing that puts us below my number 1 spot is the perk placement. I love the perk placement. It's not bad. I just prefer the perk placement for the number 1 spot on this list, which we'll get to in a little bit. But Black Ops 2's HUD, it's fantastic. It gives all the information properly. It does not, you know, have too much stuff going on the screen. It doesn't take away from the environment. It's clean. It looks good. Has a nice visual style to it. There's literally nothing to complain about here at all. And yes, that means the number 1 spot is going to be Black Ops 3, which Black Ops 3 did have a unique HUD between Shadows of Evil and the other maps in the game. I really wish they did it for more of the maps other than just that. But regardless, it looks so fantastic. It's simple, it's clean, it's stylized, and I really don't have any issues with it. I also love where the perks are placed as well. I think they make a lot more sense there than they do where they were in Black Ops 2. Even though I was fine with how they looked in Black Ops 2, I just think the placement of them here just make more sense. And the fact that they're closer together allows you to fit more of them on the screen while still being a relatively large perk icon that doesn't, you know, obstruct your view whatsoever. So I absolutely love this. You also get to see the perk icons of the characters themselves there as well, so you get to see the face of the character you're playing as at all times. And there's absolutely nothing in the top section of the screen as well, so nothing takes up too much space there either. It is just gorgeous, and it allows Black Ops 3 to be one of the best looking zombies experiences of all time. The inventory screen is pretty cool too as well, which I didn't really talk too much about that in this video, but it looks great all around. This is the ideal HUD for Call of Duty Zombies. That is gonna do it for this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. Which Call of Duty HUDs are your favorite and which ones are your least favorite? I would love to hear your opinions. I will see you guys on my next one. Peace out.